Welcome back everyone to my channel Shubhangi Insights. So today we will be studying about standard deviation. This is the fourth topic of measures of dispersion. We had already seen range, quartile deviation and mean deviation in the previous videos. Now this is the last topic in measures of dispersion, which is standard deviation. Now let us see what is standard deviation actually. It is defined as the positive square root of the mean of square deviations of given observations from their arithmetic mean. Okay, and it is denoted by ST or sigma. Now, what are they actually trying to tell us in the formula? Like we had seen in the previous one in the mean deviation, here in that case, even if the difference is negative, by applying the modulus sign, we made it positive. Similarly, in this particular case also, in the standard deviation formula, you will see that even if the difference is negative, by squaring and taking the square root of it, you are actually turning that to positive because we cannot consider any negative numbers. That's the reason everything has to be positive. Even in the case of range and quartile deviation, we were taking highest minus lowest or Q3 minus Q1. The reason was to make it positive. Similarly, even here in standard deviation, what are we doing? We are taking the square root as well as we are squaring it. So, let's compare the formula and the definition. It is defined as positive square root. So, here you can see that we have a positive square root in the formula of the mean of square deviations of the mean. Now, what is the formula of mean? Summation x by n, right, for raw data. So, even this is in the form of summation x minus x bar the whole square by n. So, you can see this is very relatable to arithmetic mean. So, they're talking that it is a positive square root of mean of what? Squared deviations. Now, squared deviations. The whatever deviations or difference you're taking, you're squaring them of given observations. If you remember, even in the mean deviation, the given observations were taken, right? Those observations are nothing but x values which are given to us in the question. Given observation from their arithmetic mean. From their arithmetic mean. You're taking the difference of those observations from your mean. In case of mean deviation, you were taking it from mean, median, mode, depending on whichever formula or whichever data or question they ask you. But in this case, we are just taking the difference from the mean and squaring them up. It is denoted by standard deviation. Now, I hope this is very easy to understand and relate also when you see your definition as well as your formula. Now, here I have written standard deviation is equal to under root summation x minus x bar the whole square by n. Now, when we talk about problems, solving the problems, it is easier to break this formula and then use it in the problems. So, what I have done, I have opened the brackets and separated out the terms into two. I have taken the first one as summation x square by n minus summation x by n the whole square. And you can see here you have x bar and you have n. So that is what we have considered and we have opened up and written as summation x by n. This is nothing but your mean. Okay. So summation x square by n minus summation x by n the whole square. You have to be very careful by doing the substitution. Summation x square is different. Summation x the whole square is different. In this case, you are taking the x values and squaring them up and then adding them. In this case, you are just taking the total of x column and then you're squaring it. So both are different. This is in the case of raw data where you just have x values. Now, in discrete and continuous data, you have x values along with your f values or class intervals along with your frequency values. So in this particular case, the formula will be different. Standard deviation is equal to summation f x minus x bar the whole square and divided by capital N. Capital N, as you all know, it is nothing but total frequency. You can write it as capital N or you can write it as summation S. Both means the same. So again, for solving the problems, we again break this particular portion into two parts. Summation fx square by capital N minus summation fx by n the whole square. So this is easier in order to solve the problems. Now, coming to the coefficient of variation. Okay. Coefficient of variation is nothing but standard deviation by mean into 100. I have already defined sigma means standard deviation. X bar is mean. So in this case, if you have to calculate the relative measure, that is nothing but a coefficient of variation, we call it as coefficient of variation instead of coefficient of standard deviation, and denoted by CV, which is equal to standard deviation by mean into 100. Now, how do you know that you are going to use this coefficient of variation in solving the problems? Either you will have either in terms of consistency, efficiency, or uniformity, right? If they use these particular terms in the question, then you're supposed to calculate the coefficient of variation, because this is very, very important topic in this particular chapter and in this particular part of standard deviation. Mostly questions are asked based on on coefficient of variation, so it is very important to know when to use, how to use, and what conclusion to be given. Okay. Now, in coefficient of variation, they will use the terms as consistency or uniformity. Okay. Now, basically what we are going to do in case of coefficient of variation, two data will be given to us, maybe a product A, product B, and we need to compare and tell which is more consistent and which is less consistent. Okay. Now, the answer where you get a smaller value of CV, that is more consistent. If the CV is less. In case if the CV is more, it is less consistent. So this is how it works. So now let's see what are the different problems based out of standard. Let's look at the first question. Find the standard deviation of first 5 even natural numbers. Now, first of all, you need to know what are natural numbers, right? Which starts from 1, 2, 3 and so on. But they're asking us to consider even natural numbers. So, the values which we will be taking for x will be starting from 2. Because these are even numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. Now, they have asked us to find out the standard deviation, right? Now, standard deviation can be for 3 data again. Raw data, discrete data, continuous data. Since only x values are given to us, we will so this will be considered as raw data. Let us write down the formula first. Standard deviation or sigma is equal to under the root summation x square by n minus summation x by n the whole square. It is better to use this particular formula in order to solve the problems. Now, according to this formula, first we have to take sum of x square. So, we have only x. So, we'll take out x square column first and then take the total of it. So, x square will be 4, 16, 36, 64 and 100. And then we need to take the total 220. So, the total here is 220. Now, divided by n. N is nothing but the number of observations. So, we have here 5 observations. So, n will be 5. Minus summation of x the whole by n the whole square. So, we need to take the total of x also, which is nothing but 30. Now, let's substitute in the formula. Under the root 220 upon n is 5 minus 30 by 5 the whole square. So, dividing this and getting the answer 44 minus 6 the whole square. So, under the root 44 minus 36 under root 8, 2.828. 828. So, this is the answer we are getting after substituted in the formula. Okay, let us look at the second question. Find the standard deviation for the following data, and these are the numbers given to us. So, while looking at the data, we understand that this is nothing but a raw data. So, let's write down the formula first for the raw data. Standard deviation sigma is equal to under the root summation x square by n minus summation x by n the whole square. So, first we will write down the data given to us under the x column. When only a single series of data is given, that is nothing but your x values or x observations. So, we'll write it under that 8, 9, 15, 23, 5, 11, 19, 8, 10 and 12. So, these are the x values. Now, according to the formula, we need x square. So, let's write down the x square value. Let us consider the values of x square. and get the total of it along with the total of x. Now let's substitute this in the formula. Summation of x square is 1714 by 10 observations minus summation of x is 120 upon 10 the whole square. Now taking the values of this, it becomes 171.4 minus 120 by 10, which is 12 the whole square. 171.4 minus 144, and the value of this is, if we want, we can take the root of this using the calculator and get the final answer, which is 5.24. So this is how we find standard deviation for raw data. Let's consider the next question. Calculate standard deviation and variance for the following distribution. We already know how to calculate standard deviation. After calculating standard deviation, let us see what is variance for this particular question and how to find that. Now first we need to understand which kind of data is given to us. Here x values are given along with f values. So this is nothing but your discrete data. So let's write down that first. Now, the formula for standard deviation discrete data is SD sigma under the root summation fx square by capital N minus summation fx by capital N the whole square. Already we know capital N is nothing but total frequency. If you don't remember, you can make a note of this. Now, for this we need to calculate two columns, f into x square column and one fx the whole square. So let us calculate f into x square column first. F into x square. So you have to square the x values and then multiply with frequency. You need to take the total of this particular column, which is 15147. Then again we need to take the total of fx column. So first let us multiply these two. 16, 33, 68, 20, 125, 210, 105, and the total of this is 577. So now let us substitute this in the formula. Summation of fx square is 15147. Total of f column is 25. Now let's substitute this divided by 25 minus summation of fx is 577 by 25 the whole square. So let's calculate the value for this. 605.88 minus 532.68. So let's subtract both the values. 73.19, and if you take the square root of this, 8.55. So this is the answer for standard deviation. Now along with standard deviation, they have asked us to find the variance. Now variance is nothing but square of standard deviation. So whatever answer we have got here, we just need to square this. Okay. So variance is equal to sigma square. So 8.55 square. So the answer for this is again 73.19. Let's consider the next question. Calculate standard deviation for the following frequency distribution. The data given to us are the heights and number of persons. So the first column is again your x class interval, and second column is the frequency column. Since we have class interval along with frequency, so this is nothing but the continuous data. Identifying the data is very important in order to substitute the formula. Now the formula for standard deviation is again the same as discrete data, summation f into x square divided by capital N minus summation fx by n the whole square. And again n is nothing but sum of frequency. So now we have to multiply f with x square, right? For that we need x column first. So how do we find out x column? We just have class intervals given to us. So x is nothing but your midpoint. So first you need to find out the midpoint for all the class intervals. What is the formula for midpoint? Upper class limit plus lower class limit upon 2. So what is that upper class limit and lower class? 160 plus 155 divided by 2 will give us 157 0.5 and so on. We have to calculate for the rest, which is 162.5, 167.5, 172.5, 177.5, 182.5 and 187.5. These are the x values. Now we need to multiply this x square along with frequency. So after multiplying that, we are going to get fx square column, which is nothing but 24806.5, 15843.7.5, 168,337.5, 178,537.5, 189,037.5, 99918.75 and 70312.5, and then we need to take the total, which is 889387.5. So this is the total of fx square column. Now we also need f into x column also. For that we need to take out one more column. So we need to make fx column again. So fx is nothing but multiplying this into x, 157.5, 975, 1005, 1035, 1065, 547.5 and 375, and the total of this is 5160. So now let's write the formula again and do the substitution, which was summation f into x square upon n minus summation fx by l the whole square. So fx square is nothing but 889387.5 and total of f, which is nothing but 30, divided by 30 minus fx is 5160 by 30 the whole square. Now dividing this, we are going to get 29646.25 minus 29584, and the value of this is 62.25, and getting the root value, which is 7.89. Since they have mentioned the units in the question, which is in terms of centimeter, so we will also be attaching those centimeter in the end. So this is the answer for continuous data for this particular question. Okay, let us look at the next question. If mean and standard deviation of a distribution are 20 and 5 respectively, find coefficient of variation. So in this, let us write out what is given. Mean x bar is equal to 20, standard deviation is equal to 5, and CV is asked to find out. So the formula for CV is nothing but standard deviation by mean into 100. So this is the relative part of standard deviation. So we have written down the formula. Let's substitute it. 5 divided by 20 into 100, and the value of this is 25%. See the next question. If mean and CV of a distribution are 56 and 75% respectively, find standard deviation. So first let us note down whatever they have given us in the question. So the mean here is 56 and the CV here is 75%, and they have asked us to find out standard deviation. So the formula for CV is standard deviation by mean into 100. So let's substitute that. CV is 75, standard deviation is not given to us, mean is 56 into 100, which is equal to 75 into 56 by 100, and the answer for this is 42. Let's see the next question. If CV and standard deviation of a distribution of 41% and 22 respectively, find the mean. So in this case, these two things are given and they are asking us to find the mean. So first we'll write out whatever is given. CV is equal to 41. Standard deviation or sigma is equal to 22 and mean is to be found. So formula for CV is again standard deviation by mean into 100. So let's substitute that. CV is 41 is equal to 22 by mean into 100. Now from here x bar 22 into 100 upon 41, and the value is 53.66. Okay, so this is how you get the mean in this particular case. So okay, let's see the next question. The following data refers to the dividend paid to two companies, A and B, over last 5 years. So these are the dividends paid by these two companies, company A and company B. Okay, and what are they asking us to find? Calculate the coefficient of variation. Calculate the coefficient of variation, which is nothing but your CV. Now, as I already told you, I'll explain the formula. If they're asking you the questions on CV, they will give you two sets of data: A, B, company A, company B, product A, product B, and so on. And you need to compare and tell which is more consistent and which is less consistent. So here they have asked you to calculate the CV and then comment about it. So let's calculate CV for company A first. CV for company A, I'll write sigma A. So, which is mean. Let's calculate CV of company A, which is standard deviation of company A by mean of company A into 100. For this, we need to calculate the standard deviation. We have to calculate the mean and then multiply into 100. So, let's start off with the mean. Mean of company A, since it is raw data, single series of series we have, so that is summation x upon n. So we need to take the total of company A. This is nothing but your x values. So the total is 22. So 22 upon how many numbers we have? 5 divided by 5. So the mean of this is 4.4. Now we need to calculate the standard deviation for company A, which is square root of summation x square upon n minus summation x by n the whole square. Now for this we need to again take x square column. So we will be taking x square column for company A, which is 4, 9, 25, 64 and 16, and total of this, which is 118. Let's substitute this back in the formula, which is 118 upon 5 minus total of x was 22 upon 5 the whole square. So now calculating this, we will get 23.6 minus 19.36 under the root, and the value after calculating is 4.24. Now taking the root of this using the calculator, your answer is going to be 2.05. Okay, so this is the answer for the mean and standard deviation for company A. Now let us substitute back in the formula and get the CV of this, and mean was 4.4 into 100. So the CV of company A is 46.8%. So this is the coefficient of variation for company A. Similarly, let us calculate the coefficient for company B and then compare both of them. Now, coefficient of company B, the formula again remains the same. Only what is going to change is the company B. So CV of company B is equal to standard deviation of B by mean of B into 100. Now let's calculate first the mean for company B. Let us take the total. So total for company B is 34. So summation x upon n, which is 34 by 5. So the answer for this is 6.8. Now we have already got the mean. Let us calculate the standard deviation. Now standard deviation, again the same formula, summation x square upon n minus summation x by n the whole square. For this again we need to calculate the x square column for company B. X square B 36, 9, 6449, and the total of this is 258. Okay, so 258 upon 5 minus summation x is 34 upon 5 the whole square. And the answer for this after calculating is 51.6 minus 46.24. And the root value after subtracting you get 5.36, and the final answer for the root is 2.32. So this is the value of the mean and this is the value of standard deviation. Let us calculate this into the CV formula and get the CV of B. 2.32 divided by 6.8 into 100, which is 34.12%. Now this is the CV of B. CV of A was 46.8%. And this is the CV of B 34.12, right? So here we can see that CV of B is less compared to CV of A. So that means company B is more consistent. This will be the conclusion. Since CV of B is less than CV of A, so company B is more consistent. The value which is less is considered to be more consistent because there is not much variation in that. So this is how the conclusions are drawn for coefficient of variation. Thank you for watching out this video. In case you have any doubts or any other questions related to standard deviation or coefficient of variation, you can please comment them out and we'll solve them and return back in the next video. Thank you so much.